All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to another live stream by Joseph Morris about the Gabby Petito case. And if you want to stay up to date on this developing story, go ahead and hit that subscribe button below and ring the bell for notifications. Now, I have to be completely honest with everybody here. I wasn't able to actually watch the body cam in full, probably because of my own personal reasons. I'm just not one to really watch those things. I find them very hard to watch. I've only ever seen clips. So forgive me if this is actually in the body cam footage, but I found out that we can actually see inside the motel that Brian Laundrie was staying at. So Gabby Petito's fiance, Brian Laundrie, stayed at a $78 a night motel after police stopped them following a call about domestic violence. So staff at it's called the Bowen Motel in Moab, Utah, confirmed that the 23-year-old had stayed at the accommodation after police took him there on August 12th. So if you remember correctly the case here, a 911 call came in, a report about a domestic dispute at a grocery store called it was a co-op, and one of the workers there actually ended up being murdered with her newlywed wife shortly afterwards. And more on that in a bit, but August 12th is a really important date here. According to the motel, the police do not have an arrangement set up with them, but that it was a last minute arrangement. So I think the way policing works, and even though I'm not too sure about this, you can actually have arrangements with motels to house people that need to be separated. So, Gabby is having a massive breakdown, and Brian basically was all buddy with the cops and made him out to seem to be the battered husband or, soon to be husband. And just the way he manipulated that entire situation, they actually took pity on him. So let me just reiterate that. Gabby was the one in hysterics, crying, breaking down, and having a full-on meltdown. And she was the one left to stay in the van. Sorry, my head is shaking. I'm so into this. Welcome to live streams. She was the one that had to stay in the van while he got the creature comforts of the motel. And I mean, if we want to talk about fairness issues, I think that's such a problematic thing. Also, I found in the clip of the body cam footage that the police were using very leading questions. They were asking, oh, so you hit him, right? You hit him, right? Anybody that knows any sort of interrogation sort of tactic is to use leading questions to put words in their mouth. So we'll watch that clip in a bit. The Bowen Motel said that they have been cooperating with the police investigation into Gabby's murder. So yeah, they have been cooperating. I'd be really interested to know if they have any more sort of surveillance footage, because I find just like watching this stuff back and knowing what we know now could be really insightful to understanding the case and understanding how this guy operates and what kind of person he is. So we're going to play the clip now. I'm not too sure if everybody has seen this yet. I sure haven't. So when I heard about this news story, I found it very interesting. So let's just play the clip of him going into the motel.
We're going to come in here and we're going to come talk to Tyson. Tyson?
Yep.
Officer Robin Spill called for me.
He did, yes.
This is Brian Laundrie.
Alright.
So he's going to get you all set up with your hotel room, and he's going to take care of it from here.
Alright.
Alright.
So
and like I said, just remember my requests. I think it'll make a big difference in you guys' next couple of weeks at the very least.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for everything.
No problem. It's nice meeting you, Brian.
Nice to meet you.
Have a good one.
Yeah, so the audio there, it is that low quality audio. It does chop out here and there. I'm not too sure if they're trying to censor the audio or not, but there is audio that is missing in that clip. And, I found his behavior in that clip very suspicious. He was very buddy with the hotel staff, with the police officer. At one point, he even shakes the hand of the police officer, once again, proclaiming his innocence, trying to manipulate the situation. You know what? I'm just going to play it one more time.
all set up with your hotel room, and he's going to take care of it from here. Alright? And like I said, just remember my request. I think it can make a big difference in you guys' next couple.
Yeah, so as you can see from that clip, that he was very buddy with the cops in that situation. He again tried to paint himself out to be the victim in that motel clip. So as we know, there was a domestic dispute, and a 911 caller reported it, and that's why the cops were on, the scene. Between Gabby Petito. Again, Gabby Petito was visibly distraught, and in this situation, he was made out to be the victim. He was the one put in the hotel. He was the one in that situation that was all smiley and happy. So this is where I kind of get really tripped up here. So I'll just play the next clip I have.
What'd you hit him? Slapped him first? It's on his face? How many times did you slap? Bravo, Romeo, India, Alpha, November. And then what? And then his reaction was to do what? It's gonna be out of just grabbed you? Did he hit you though? I mean it's okay if you're saying he hit you. I understand if he hit you, but we want to know the truth if he actually hit you. Because no, be honest. Did you slap your face or what? Yeah. Go ahead. Okay. So has he been drinking?
No, we don't drink.
Okay. What was up with his driving? This officer said he hit a curb. What'd you hit him? Slapped him first?
So in that clip, I really just wanted to point out that in that scenario, the cops were asking very leading questions. I know you can't really hear it. That's literally the quality of the body cam footage. So I tried to boost it up. But basically what the cop is saying, oh, did you hit him? Did you slap him? Using very leading questions in that situation. Again, I think the police are being investigated for their handling of that scenario. But basically, yeah, they were trying to paint her out to be the problem in that scenario, when in actuality, the 911 call said that she was the one that was hit. So, that entire scenario was very stressful for all of them. Terrible things happened for them. And this is where this is where it kind of gets interesting. So that fight happened on August 12th, right? He was separated in the motel. Now, if we do some research here, the motel is about a 13-minute drive away from, where the newlywed murders happened. So I just want to point out that in Moab, Utah, there has been 0 murders since 2006. Brian Laundrie shows up, and all of a sudden, there are 3 murders. So I find that very suspect. So when I'm looking at this case, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, someone wrote here, makes me sick how they pressed her. I would have to agree. The way this is handled was very awful. And I think in that scenario, the way that she was behaving was out of fear. I think the way she was behaving in that scenario, she was fearful of Brian. She was fearful, if he did, in fact, she admitted to the domestic violence situation. In those scenarios, the victim is going to be scared of their aggressor. So this guy has been known to be aggressive, has had episodes, has been toxic. And that's where I kind of have a problem. So he's probably really stressed out. You know, there's allegations out there that he was off his medication, that he had some issues mentally, mental health issues. So that night, you know, they put him in this motel, a $78 motel. Probably not the best place. Probably, you know, he's not going to relax too much. He's probably still reeling. In front of those cops, he really manipulated the situation to say he's a really laid back, non-aggressive guy. But in reality, we know that's not the case. So in this scenario, he stays at this motel. The motel is about a 13-minute drive or walk, a 17-minute drive from the site of where the newlyweds were murdered. Okay? This is the tea. So the newlyweds were murdered the day after he was put in that motel. So I just want to read you the allegations here. So on August 12th, Brian and Laundrie and Gabby fight at the Moonflower Co-op in Moab, where Kylan Shute is a cashier. So Kylan is one of the people that were murdered. Civilian calls 911 to report the incident of Brian trying to drive off in the van without Gabby while taking her phone as Gabby gets back in the van before taking off. That afternoon, Brian and Gabby are pulled over in Moab and on police body cam footage. Cops have Gabby take the van that night and have Brian stay in the Bowen Motel in Moab. So this is where it gets interesting. On August 13th, Brian presumably sleeps at the Bowen Motel and wakes up there the morning of August 13th. There is no evidence of where Brian was between August 13th morning until August 24th, when Gabby FaceTimes her mother. Bowen Motel is a 7-minute walk to Woody's Tavern in Moab, which is the last place that Kylan Shute and Crystal Turner were seen alive at 9:30 p.m. that night. That night, they stated a creep is staying next to them at their campsite to a friend at the bar. Kylan and Crystal were found dead on La Salle Mountaintop Road at their campsite by a friend on August 18th. Bowen Motel is a 15-minute drive to La Salle Mountaintop Road, or a 3-hour and 45-minute walk on foot. So Brian's sister stated to the press, whenever they fight, they take a little break and come back and be fine, because that's what you do in a couple. Is it possible that after the dispute they had in the van that they decided to separate for a bit to take a break? And if that were true, isn't it a possibility that Brian could have ended up camping out at the same location Kylan and Crystal were found dead, and having set up camp there before Kylan and Crystal went to Woody's Tavern to mention a creep camping next to them? So I don't know about you guys, but that gave me chills. And it's not just because my window is open, but, you know, I think there is some weight to this. Basically, you know, he's not known to be one to want to really stay in a motel. That $78 motel said, like, no dogs allowed on the door. You know, it wasn't really the most friendly looking motel, no offense. It's $78, probably not the most comfortable. He likes to be outdoors. He's an outdoorsy guy. So he could have very well just went to a campsite and was very upset over the aggression of, you know, the fight he had with Gabby Petito, where he nearly was put in jail and he was separated and he was so angry. He could have very well have taken out his frustration on those two women. And so that's the tea. There's people new here joining. You know, we're right now talking about a clip I haven't seen thus far. I just was telling everybody at the beginning of this live stream that I didn't actually watch the body cam footage in full. I found it way too hard to watch. It was very difficult to watch. Even when I went back to do this editing, I got really kind of emotional about it, because I was just like, I don't want to get into it. I'll probably start getting even more emotional when I watch it. But yeah, so there's new footage that has or has not been released. I don't want to be accused of doing any sort of fake news here, but there is now footage out on the internet of inside the motel where Brian Laundrie were separated from Gabby Petito. So let's get right into it to the new people. Here we go.
What'd you hit him? Slapped him first? It's on his face? How many times did you slap?
Bravo, Romeo, India, Alpha, November.
And then what? And his reaction was to do what?
We're gonna come in here. We're gonna attempt to Tyson. Tyson? Yep. Officer Robin Spill called for me.
He did, yes.
This is Brian Laundrie.
Alright.
So he's gonna get you all set up with your hotel room, and he's gonna take care of it from here.
Alright, well,
Alright?
thank you so
And like I
much.
said, just remember my requests. I think it'll make a big difference in you guys' next couple of weeks at the very least.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for everything.
No problem. It's nice meeting you, Brian.
Nice to meet you.
Have a good one.
Alright, so sorry.
Yeah, so the quality of these videos aren't the best, and because they are taken with the body cam footage, they're not like superstar quality materials, but I think you can kind of pick out from those materials that, you know, he is kind of like buddy with the police. He did kind of manipulate the situation into him being the victim, into him being the battered husband, the battered fiance. And I think that really showed up when how he was being treated by police. I mean, we're talking about a guy that literally, 13 days after this, potentially murdered his fiance. And I feel like there was, it doesn't sit really well with me. There was a missed opportunity there. This is why I think maybe, police officers shouldn't be the go-to person to deal with domestic violence disputes. There should be more social workers out there willing to show up with the police to really suss out the situation, because if you're not used to working with domestic abuse victims, you would probably just read it for what it is. But if we play back the video of her in the body cam footage, of her in the back seat being hysterical, crying, to me, you know what she looks like? She looks like she's scared. So this is the next video I'm going to play. And it's very, very quiet. But the main things I want you to pick out here is the cops asking very leading questions. Now, I'm not a professional interrogator, but I know as a journalist that, using leading questions in a dialogue setting isn't the best way to get an honest answer. So the cop asks her, where did you hit him? So let's just play that clip.
What'd you hit him? Slapped him first? It's on his face? How many times did you slap?
Bravo, Romeo, India, Alpha, November.
And then what? And his reaction was to do what?
It's gonna be out of Florida.
He just grabbed you? Did he hit you though? I mean, it's okay if you're saying he hit him, but then I understand if he hit you, but we want to know the truth if he actually hit you. Because, where did he hit you? Don't worry, be honest. Did he slap your face or what? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So has he been drinking?
No, we don't drink.
Okay. What was up with his driving? This officer.
Okay, so the audio quality, I think the microphone that they had was kind of tucked away there, but I'm hoping you can make out what she was saying. The cop probed her and asked a very leading question, where'd you hit him? Like, one of the first questions asked was, where did you hit him? Painting her out to be the aggressor. And that it was actually validated by the police report. The police report actually said that he was a battered man. And this is kind of where I'm getting at is I think in that situation, she was so scared of telling the truth that because she knows how Brian behaves in those scenarios. He has episodes in the past where he's gotten extremely violent. You know, I think multiple times on my video, I showed the body cam search of him, how they quickly just like, you know, did a quick little search of him where he lifted up his top and turned around. Not even a pat down. I think in an airport, you get searched more than that. You know, the fact that there's a potentially domestic abuse situation. I also would love for people next time I play that clip to really look out for the bruises that are on her arm. I mean, it's no joke. Like, I think the cops in that situation really didn't handle it very well. They are being investigated, but you know, I think hindsight is 2020, but I can't help but feel like in that situation, it wasn't handled the best. You know, just because somebody is very superficial and very, you know, buddy with you doesn't mean they're like that behind doors. In fact, it probably would make it more suspicious, the fact that he is acting so happy and carefree when he just got allegedly beat up. I think there's some red flags there. So there's a ton of new people in here. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate that. We're at 2,971. So for those of us just joining here, we're talking about newly released footage from inside the hotel. Now, I don't want to be fingers pointed at me because, you know, sometimes I do these live streams and I don't really know if this footage has been released and if everybody else has seen it. But this is entirely new to me. There is newly released footage of inside the motel, and it's a very short clip. It's a bit shoddy, but you know, there's 3,000 people here, so I think it's worth it to really play this clip again and, you know, let me know what you guys think of it. So.
Tyson?
Yep.
Officer Robin Spill called for me.
He did, yes.
This is Brian Laundrie.
Alright.
So he's going to get you all set up with your hotel room, and he's going to take care of it from here.
Alright. Well,
Alright?
thank you so
And like I
much.
said, just remember my requests. I think it'll make a big difference in you guys' next couple weeks at the very least.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for everything.
No problem. It's nice meeting you, Brian.
Nice to meet you.
Have a good one.
Alright.
So if we really want to get deep in the weeds here, that doesn't look like the nicest hotel. I mean, it's Moab, Utah. I'm sure they don't have a lot of 5-star hotels. No offense to anybody from that area, but I'm have a feeling, you know, that probably wasn't a really hospitable place for him. We know Brian is somebody that really enjoys the outdoors. He loves to go camping. He likes spending time outdoors. So the idea that he's going to stay in this $78 motel that literally says on the door, like, no dogs allowed. I mean, if I knew how to camp, I would pitch a tent and camp. Who knows if that place even had air conditioning? Like, these are questions that I would like to know. Another question that I have after watching that video was, what is it that the cops and him have discussed? What was it? They said in that video, they remember what we said. And I just would love to know what they said. Let's watch it again.
We're going to attempt to Tyson. Tyson?
Yep.
Officer Robin Spill called for me.
He did, yes.
This is Brian Laundrie.
Alright.
So he's going to get you all set up with your hotel room, and he's going to take care of it from here.
Alright. Well,
Alright?
thank you so
And like I
much.
said, just remember my requests. I think it'll make a big difference in you guys' next couple weeks at the very least.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for everything.
No problem. It's nice meeting you, Brian.
Nice to meet you.
Have a good one.
Alright. So sorry.
Yeah, I mean, so the cops are basically saying that they never used this motel before. I'm not a police person, but I'm assuming that most police officers would have some sort of hookup with motels that, you know, if we do need to separate people, we can bring you to this motel. And so they probably have no experience of the kind of service that they get at that motel. But just by telling, by the way that motel looks, I mean, it's $78 a night. You walk in, immediately there's plexiglass. I don't know if anybody else knows that, but plexiglass, it's a very sketchy area. It's very, not the most hospitable, not somewhere that I would personally like to stay. No offense to that motel at all, but I would not want to stay there. And they separated them, and they actually treated him like the victim, gave him the motel, and gave her the van to sleep in. I really think it should have been the other way around, knowing what we know now. It just, again, speaks to how he is able to gaslight that situation, how he is able to just make friends immediately, get the cops on his side. At one point they shake his hand. So just after watching the body cam footage in its entirety, I think this kind of behavior by the cops is not the best. Again, I'm going to play the clip here of her in the back seat, and I just want you to be aware of her bruising and the way she was led by police officers to say what they wanted to say.
What'd you hit him? Slapped him first? It's on his face? How many times did you slap?
Bravo, Romeo, India, Alpha, November.
And then what? And his reaction was to do what?
It's gonna be out of Florida.
He just grabbed you? Did he hit you though? I mean, it's okay if you're saying you hit him, but then I understand if he hit you, but we want to know the truth if he actually hit you. Because, where did he hit you? No, don't worry, just be honest. Did he slap your face or what?
Go ahead.
Okay. So has he been drinking? What was up with
So again, just by noticing that clip, I can see bruises on her arms. I can see she's visibly scared. I don't think it was a mental health issue. Looking back, this whole thing about her having OCD and all that stuff, the police report did say that by the end of it, he was a victim and that she was having just like a mental health breakdown. I don't think that's the case. I think judging by this video, judging the way she's acting, I think she was scared. And I think the way she was actually responding to the police officer was she was making it up. I don't know if you can hear, I'm sorry for the audio quality of that clip. That's how the clip looks. But you can actually hear her just being like, oh yeah, he hit me under here. Like, it just wasn't really matter of fact. It just sounds like she was making it up. And in that situation, I think both of them wanted to protect each other. Neither of them wanted to get charged. They just wanted it to go away. The police were called, somebody had a witness, and that's problematic. And so they just wanted everything to go away. No, they didn't want to press charges. They're willing to do whatever, just lie to get out of it. Oh, sweet, we got off by being separated at a motel. Sure, I'll take it. So that event happened on August 12th, okay? The newlywed murders that I'm talking about happened on a day after. So my, theory here is that he went to that motel, that sketchy motel with the plexiglass that I keep playing, and he didn't like it. He goes and he camps out. That night, the newlywed couple goes to a bar, and then they say, there's a creepy man camping out next to me. Day after, they were killed. They were murdered. And so let me just pull up here again what I'm talking about. So August 12th, Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito fight at Moonflower Co-op in Moab, where Kylan Shute is a cashier. Civilian calls 911 to report the incident of Brian trying to drive off in the van without Gabby while taking her phone as Gabby gets back to the van before taking off. That afternoon, Brian and Gabby are pulled over in Moab and on police body cam footage. Cops have Gabby take the van that night and have Brian stay in the Bowen Motel in Moab. August 13th, Brian presumably sleeps at the Bowen Motel and wakes up there the morning of August 13th. There is no evidence of where Brian was between August 13th morning until August 24th when Gabby FaceTimes her mother. Bowen Motel is a 7-minute walk to Woody's Tavern in Moab, which is the last place that Kylan Chute and Crystal Turner were seen taken alive at 9:30 p.m. that night. That night, they stated a creep is staying next to them at their campsite to a friend at the bar. Kylan and Crystal were found dead on La Salle Mountain Top Road at their campsite by a friend on August 18th. Bowen Motel is a 15-minute drive to La Salle Mountain Top Road, or a 3-hour and 45-minute walk on foot. So if I'm going to pull up this map of where he stayed, it is very, very nearby from where the murders happened. The timing is just too close for comfort. You can see here the Bowen Motel up here. The Bowen Motel is actually very close to Woody's Tavern, where the newlywed couple were last seen alive, and then the newlywed couple were murdered down the street to La Salle Mountain Loop Road. So yeah, I personally believe that Brian in this scenario did not want to stay at that motel, inside that $78 motel, and instead he camped out and he, scared a couple women and took his frustrations out from the traffic stop and ended up murdering both of them. So that's my theory. I want to know, what do you guys think? I'll be reading the comments now. I can't always read them. So Brian flew home on the 19th and back, not sure of the date. Yes, I'm so confused by that too. I have no idea what happened there. Like, what happened? I mean, honestly, I asked that as an honest question. He, at one point during the cross-country trip, decides to go back home to help out his father in Northport, Florida for a couple days. Gabby stayed in a motel or a hotel during that time. What happened there? Why was he in that area? What about the best friend? I haven't really done too many videos on the best friend. I think that'd be very interesting to get into that. Yeah, he thinks he's better than anyone else. Yeah, I think Brian killed that couple. Yeah, I think that's something that really has come to light throughout all this. Brian kind of is like I think he is kind of a narcissist. He wants people talking about him. This is what he wants. He wants me taking time out of this beautiful sunny day to be in my attic where it's sweltering hot and there's lights all over me, talking about him to you guys, because that's exactly what he wants. He wants that kind of attention. And something that is very interesting, and I did a live stream about it last night, was the family friend didn't even want to mention his name. She referred to him as the evil one. Now, I can only speculate so much, but I think that was very telling. I think that was very interesting for her to do that, because I think like saying his name just kind of gives him more attention and kind of gives him exactly what he wants. So very interesting stuff. Yeah, his artwork, someone wrote about his artwork. I did a video on that where we went through his Pinterest, and his Pinterest was very strange. I think there was this one tattoo that said, "If I die, do not resuscitate." Very morbid, scary stuff. One item that really blew my mind was the pillow of like, "Sorry about what I said when trying to park the camper." It was kind of just like this apologetic pillow that he's really stressed out when he parks the camper, that he says things that are just very rude, and he just wants a pillow because he does it so much. He wants to just have that on his couch, saying that he gets aggressive when he camps. And it's literally about a camper van. Also, something that's very interesting about his Pinterest was that he did have a baby board as well as Gabby. He also had a marriage life goals board. So he did see a future with Gabby. He does kind of have two sides to him, you know, and that's something that the toxic nature of the relationship says. Her best friend actually said that, you know, they experience extreme highs and extreme lows. And I think that's also something that should be paid attention on his Pinterest board, because there's very two-sided. It's either lovey-dovey or it's like tattoos about death. So I went to clear the storage unit in Florida. Yeah, so thank you so much, whoever wrote that K. Oh, man, I just could hang out with you guys all day here talking about conspiracies. I haven't read too much about that, but yeah, apparently he went to the storage unit to clear out the storage with his dad. So I would love to know more about that. I mean, this is the crazy thing about this case, is that we don't have a lot of information. The Laundries won't talk to the media. They won't talk to any sort of the police or anything unless they're completely pressured. Like, for example, Gabby was missing. It was the mom that called it in. They didn't do it. You know, Brian went missing while on a hike, and they didn't report him as missing until much later, when the cops actually showed up to their door. So again, the Laundries just don't really care. They don't want to share too much information, and that's kind of where we're kind of grasping at straws. Like, there's so many little details in this case that are just like so compelling, and we need to know more about. Another interesting detail that just kind of come off my head was that during that time of the camping trip, they also her dad ordered them like Uber Eats or something like that. They ordered them a meal for them to eat. You know, again, just kind of extrapolating information from something that I don't know too much about, but like, they didn't have a lot of money, you know, and that's something that I should really bring up as a motive for this situation, that maybe he murdered those people to get their money and use their bank cards. When they released the arrest warrant, it didn't actually say if it was Gabby Petito's bank cards. Who knows? It could have been somebody else that he murdered. We could be dealing with a serial killer here. And, you know, there's a lot of people that have joined. I'm going to play the clip again, because this is what we all came here for. I haven't been watching too much of the body cam footage myself. I find it too emotional, too hard to watch. So I'm just kind of slowly digesting it. And I'm sorry if this is fake news, as people like to call me sometimes, but this is the first time I've seen them inside of the motel. And the clip is very shoddy. The audio cuts out here and there. So just bear with me. The mic is, the body cam is also very quiet. So please just look at this motel, and we'll talk about it after we watch it. So.
Every time in here, we're going to attempt to place it. Tyson?
Yep.
Officer Robin Spill called for me.
He did, yes.
This is Brian Laundrie.
Alright.
So he's going to get you all set up with your hotel room, and he's going to take care of it from here.
Alright, well,
Alright?
thank you so
And like I
much.
said, just remember my requests. I think it'll make a big difference in you guys' next couple of weeks at the very least.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for everything.
No problem. It's nice meeting you, Brian.
Nice to meet you.
Have a good one.
Alright, so sorry.
We're going to come in here, we're going to attempt to place.
Yeah, so just judging by that, it's in a downtown area of Utah. You know, it seems to me that that's like the last place he wants to be. The whole point of their trip was to be in the wilderness, outside of nature, out in Utah, you know, enjoying all the sights. He doesn't want to be in that motel. It's a $78 motel. Probably not the nicest, definitely not a 4-star one. Yeah, so this is actually when that night, this happened right after the domestic dispute on August 12th. A 911 caller basically reported that Brian slapped Gabby Gabby, when they arrived on the scene, the police, this is where also I'm kind of tripped up. Why didn't the police have access to that 911 call is beyond me. Like, why weren't they fed that information that the male is the aggressor? Because in that situation, domestic abusers, from what I know, they can paint themselves out to be the victim. They can gaslight the situation. I mean, that's what they're best at, making you feel like you're the crazy one, making you look out to be the hysteric one. And that's all a part of their plan, you know. And if police officers aren't really used to working with that sort of manipulation, you can clearly see how this situation was mishandled. I mean, again, I'm just going to say this, but you know, the police should really look into having somebody on staff who is able to deal with domestic abuse situations, like a social worker, because the last thing somebody who has been traumatized by their boyfriend wants to see is an authority figure. And that's sort of the problem with cops. You know, cops are I hate to say it, but they're aggressive, right? They always try to stay one step ahead of you. So, you know, coming up to the situation where you could very well have charges laid against you is not the best scenario for somebody that's in a domestic dispute situation. You know, she was probably terrified. I have a hard time watching this body cam footage. I find it so hard to watch. And I really want to play this one clip because I find that the cops really mishandled the situation by having him stay in that motel that we just played, that shady, scary motel. That's a problem, I think. It should maybe have been the other way around. And also, you know, using very leading questions. So I'm going to play that clip here. Again, the back of the car, I call it.
What'd you hit him? Slapped him first? It's on his face? How many times did you slap?
Bravo, Romeo, India, Alpha, November.
And then what? And his reaction was to do what?
It's gonna be out of Florida.
Just grabbed you? Did he hit you though? I mean, it's okay if you're saying he hit him, but then I understand if he hit you, but we want to know the truth if he actually hit you. Because, you know, where did he hit you? Don't worry. Be honest. Did he slap your face or what? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So has he been drinking?
Okay, so I don't know if you can barely make that out. Again, the audio quality is not the best. It's actually kind of skipping on my end too, probably because my Mac is overheating. But, you know, I feel like you can overhear what they're saying. It's a very leading question. You hit him, you know? Yeah, I hit him. Like, I don't know if I'm kind of reading into this. She tried to make it seem like they were both the aggressor and, you know, trying to diffuse the situation. Not one of them was the aggressor. One of them's not. I think what she was really scared in the situation was, you know, catching a charge. I think they both were very upset over the situation. You know, the police kind of handled it so that they separated them, and he ended up taking it to a motel. And that motel, for the people that have been joining, this is kind of the tea I have. This motel here is, you know, very close to where the newlywed murders happened. So there's these murders that happen nearby. Yeah. So he stayed at the Bowen Motel. So my question to everybody here is Brian Laundrie involved in the murders of Kylan Schultz and Crystal Turner? That's my question to everybody here. So Brian stayed at the Bowen Motel August 12th through August 13th. Just a 7-minute walk to Woody's Tavern, where they were last seen, and a 15-minute drive to the death site. So is that possible? The newlyweds were reported missing on August 13th. around the same day as a traffic stop. So I am speculating that it's possible that night maybe Laundrie went out and murdered the couple. I'd like to point out that Moab County from 2006 up until Laundrie arrived, there were no murders. Upon his arrival, there were 3. Is it possible that he released out his aggression on these women? As we know from his restaurant encounter, they were fighting before Gabby's death, and he was notably fighting with all the female restaurant patrons. So that's a point I kind of wrote down was, during that domestic dispute at the restaurant, people were very quick to point out that he indeed was, being aggressive to notably all the female staff. So I think there's kind of a pattern here where he takes out his aggression on women. And so I think I'm going to wrap it up here. People are kind of dropping out. Maybe I'll read the comments a bit and see what you guys are saying. All you need to do is find out where Gabby stays on August 12th. Did the cops tell her about a camping area nearby, which happened to be in the vicinity of Kylan and Crystal's campsite? Yeah, I want to know how familiar Brian was with this area. What time were they separated? Yeah. Man, she was scared of him even though he was in a hotel and she was in the van. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. She was scared of him when they were separated, but my point was, I think maybe I got lost in translation. She was scared of the situation with the cops. She was scared of, telling the cops the honest truth that she is a victim of domestic abuse. And this is the situation that, just being in that situation, you don't want to make it worse. You kind of want the problem to just go away. So I think that's what she was trying to do. She was scared because if she did press charges against Laundrie, if she did make allegations that he started it first, which we know he did by the 911 call, there would have been a bigger problem on our hands, right? There would have been a bigger problem on our hands. He would end up getting charged, catching a charge, as the kids say. And what happens then? He's going to be even more aggressive, more scared. She was fearful for her life in that scenario. And I think, hindsight 2020, yeah, she had every right to be fearful for her life because look what happened. Brian gets out of control. He acts, belligerent. He's very scary. They have to separate quite often, And I'm just thinking about how I did a live stream earlier today about how Cassie was suspicious of in her answers because she kind of said Cassie is Brian's sister. So, so Cassie said, oh, I loved her like a family, like a sister-in-law. But, the entire situation, she's kind of laughing in that interview where she says, oh, I just, I thought it was a little spat between 2 lovers. And that's the thing, that's what everybody's kind of treating this as. They're kind of all gaslighting her into making it seem like it's something she's not. I think she's been so gaslighted so badly in her relationship that she believes she's the crazy one. She, in that body cam footage, said she's the one with OCD, which is crazy because that means she's so convinced by everybody gaslighting her around her. Like even his sister, that she believes, oh, I'm OCD. I think in the body cam footage, they got in a fight over him going out into the woods and there's dirt all over his shoes and he ends up bringing that dirt inside the van. And that's the reason why they got into that argument. But I don't really consider that OCD. I consider that just kind of, all within well-reasoned. I don't think she was crazy. We see pictures of the van. I don't know if you guys saw this one picture where it's like the back of the van, how it looks on social media versus how it looks in the body cam footage. And the differences are startling. You have one that's very organized and you have one that's just a complete mess. You just know there's this situation, this push and pull between them where Brian is the one, kind of messing everything up and she's the one that has to clean up after him. She's not OCD. That is a normal situation to be in. They're both young. They're in their early 20s and, they don't have the capacity to know how to deal with those situations in an adult way. So some interesting tidbits. I've ever been in. Hope people, thank you so much. I see someone complimenting my viewers. At one point, I was at 4,000 concurrent viewers, and somebody gave me $10, which is absolutely insane. I'm not expecting that. Thank you so much. Is he addicted to drugs? Someone asked that question, and I would have to say I don't know, but it would be very interesting to have that information. Again, if the Laundrie family were to be talking, which they're not, it'd be very interesting to understand that scenario. In the body cam footage, they said they don't even drink, so who knows? Yeah, she was winging the entire conversation. I think that's a great way to put it. She was just winging it, you know? I think during that co-op grocery store encounter, I think they did get loud. I think what happened was it was pretty obvious what went down there. They created a huge scene. They had, you know, this guy named Christopher call in the 911 call. She knows that people were witnesses to what has happened, and she knows that she can't lie about how he hit her. But I'm sure if it was the other way around, she would probably just have taken all the blame. I honestly feel like she would be like, yeah, I hit him. But because she knew that Brian actually was the one that hit her, like, man, like, Brian was the one that hit her. She had to wing it, the conversation. She had to be like, yeah, she knew other people witnessed him hitting her. And she had to say, I was the one that hit back. I was the one that started it. Because, you know, I think something that is very apparent in these situations, but when it's an area where it's like a police officer, male versus female, in most situations, they're going to side with the female. And in this scenario, she really wanted to paint herself out to be the aggressor. Why? Because she was scared of him. She wanted everything to just go away. She didn't want to deal with him catching a charge. She wanted to just diffuse the situation. So that is my theory. My theory is he was really angry that night. They took him to a motel that was $78 a night, probably not a 5-star, had plexiglass on the counters, didn't want to stay there, decided to camp out next to these newlywed couples who that night, after the fight, they went to a bar that was 7 minutes near where the motel was where he was staying, 7 minutes nearby. That newlywed couple were there that night. That's the last time anybody has seen them alive. So did Brian walk down the 7 minutes to go to a bar to take the edge off? You know, meets these newlywed couples, follows them back, and murders them? Like, no one knows where he was during that time. From August 13th to August 24th, nobody knows. No one's speaking about it. No one knows nothing. I mean, I really hope they can get some sort of surveillance footage of that encounter, because I would also like to know the manner of death of Gabby Petito, because we know the newlywed murders were shot. I think he strangled her and bashed her with a rock. Wow. Let's talk about violence, subtle as it is. All right. Brian is a creeper. Gabby suffered from Stockholm Syndrome. Yeah, that's a really good point. Stockholm Syndrome. You know, she loved her abuser. I think in this situation, you know, you're fighting so much. You're fighting so much that you just want to make it better constantly. And you kind of create this like sort of dependent kind of relationship where you're dependent on your feelings become so reliant on making him happy, because you know they're in a van and she just wants to have a good time and take your beautiful Instagram pictures. She doesn't want to deal with this sort of drama. She just wants to make everything better, everything go away, and that creates a very toxic relationship because you have such extremes. You know, you fight so much and then you just want to make it better. So that kind of work, I think, you know, in psychology, I'm not a psychologist, but I'll say like when you work so hard at something, you want it more and you want it to be, you know, you don't want to let it go. So she put a lot of work into that relationship, trying to make it better. She feels like she's gotten so far with it. And yeah. Yes, very possible he killed them. Wow, you guys are just like going off right now. I gotta be real with you. I need to take my dog out for a walk. I just got a new puppy. My mom says for me to bring it on. I feel like the chat is really, really sad. So I'm gonna go and grab my puppy as we watch this motel camera for the new people. So this is inside the motel. This is the title of my thing. I have not seen
Come in here, we're gonna come talk to Tyson real quick. Tyson?
Yep.
Officer Robin Spill called for me.
He did, yes.
This is Brian Laundrie.
Alright.
So he's gonna get you all set up with your hotel room, and he's gonna take care of it from here.
Alright, well,
Alright?
thank you so
And like I
much.
said, just remember my requests. I think it'll make a big difference in you guys' next couple of weeks at the very least.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for everything.
No problem. It's nice to meet you, Brian.
Nice to meet you.
Have a good one.
Alright, so sorry.
We're gonna come in here, we're gonna come talk to Tyson real quick. Tyson?
Yep.
All right, so I'm being a little crazy right now. I feel like I just want to lighten the mood a bit. This is my new dog. She's 7 years old. We got her from a breeder. She's a mama. She had babies. And she's a corgi. So, you know, if you have a pet right now, go and pet them. This has been a very difficult case for me to cover. And just having a pet around has made everything kind of better. Say hello. Say hello. 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 All right, guys. I'm going to find a new story for everybody. I feel like I've covered this 3 times. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I really appreciate all the support. This case has been affecting me personally. So it's nice just having other people to really cope and sound and bounce off ideas with and really bring Brian Laundrie to justice. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to go take her for a walk, give her some water. She's very lazy. And I hope everybody has a good night. Thank you. Yeah, I'm very happy with how smart she is. She is the queen. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and subscribing. Talk to you soon.